episode of Jay's Fit Down Podcast. I am your host, Jade, and today we're going to be recapping Monday Night Football action that took place last night. You had the Bengals playing the Broncos, and you had the Miami Dolphins playing the New York Jets. So, still two good games there, and we'll kind of discuss what happened with those and some storylines as we move into week 5 now, I believe it is. Um, yeah, week 5 of the season now. So crazy how fast time is going by in the NFL as it usually does. I mean, heck, before you know it, guys, we'll be on week 12, week 13. We'll be soon getting ready to start the playoffs. So, but for right now, like I said, that's what we're going to focus on. Make sure you guys subscribe here at Jace Put Down. Also follow us on our social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Jace Put Down Pod. You know the deal by now. Yeah, I was watching, these games last night, and one of the things that stuck out to me in the Bengals and the Broncos game, which is something that has been a topic of discussion this whole season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, really since um, Joe Burrow went down, especially like that got heightened. But the thing with the Bengals, man, you paid Jamar Chase, you paid T. Higgins, you paid Joe Burrow, but still the problems with the offensive identity of the Bengals is just like, it is an issue. It's a clear issue. And that it's not helping that the offensive line has been, I mean, basically abysmal since Joe Burrow has been drafted into the NFL to the Bengals. I mean, the Super Bowl year it was bad. I mean, if he had some time in the pocket, he could have saw Jamar Chase. We saw that play, right? At the end of the Super Bowl, Jamar Chase was wide open, but Joe Burrow could get it to him because he was on his back before he could look downfield. And you have things like that; those are critical, man. And not even just in the Super Bowl, but just in regular games. I mean, missed blocks, like the offensive line. The game of football is won in the trenches. Like coaches say that all the time, analysts, everybody. Like that people need to understand that is where the game is won. It's not won by, your receivers outside. It's not won by your linebackers or your defensive ends or your corners. It's won in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. If you do not have offensive line, if you do not have a good offensive line in the NFL, you will not win. If you do not have a good defense line in the NFL, you will not win. That is simple as that. I mean, yes, you need a quarterback to win, but at the same time, those coincide with each other. You have to have great offensive defensive lines to win in the National Football League at a consistent basis. And the Bengals just right now don't really have much of either. To be honest with you, I mean Trey Hendrickson is probably their best player on defense right now. Offensively, Jake Browning's not getting it done at quarterback, and they've managed to only score 13 points through the two games that Joe Burrow has now missed due to his injury, and he, of course, is going to be sidelined for the rest of the season um, with his injury. So it's just not a good look, man, for the Bengals. And for Zach Taylor, I mean, for him, it's just like his in-game decisions and some of the play calls just seem very odd. I mean, there was a video of Jamar Chase from the game last night. He's going up to Zach Taylor. He's like, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, why are we need to do this or this or that? Just to kind of summarize." And Zach Taylor I mean, I don't think he is the best option at head coach for Cincinnati. But because of how that organization is and how they just are a mess, they're going to keep him. They kept Marvin Lewis for a long time. And it's a guy like Zach Taylor who took them to a Super Bowl. It was in another one. I mean, no, yeah, he took them to the Super Bowl. I meant to say, yeah, and you know, that year in 2021, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep him for sure. Like they keep riding on that hill, and it's like, come on, man, they keep milking that. And since then, the Bengals just haven't done much. That they just haven't, and it's a shame to see it, man, for Joe Burrow especially, dude. I mean, he's a fantastic player, awesome quarterback, but he keeps getting hurt. And at what point do you have to sit here and say, like, if you're the Bengals, like, I mean, we've invested all this money into our offense, and it's just not getting returned because constantly, our quarterback is getting injured, and so it's just the offensive line that's where they should have invested money into. It's the guys up front to protect Joe Burrow. It's very simple. Football is really simple when you think about it. It's not complicated. If you have a good offensive line and your quarterback's upright in the pocket most of the time, and you got good players out wide, which the Bengals do. Heck, even if you have decent players out wide at receiver. You got a decent running back. You'll be fine in the NFL. But if you don't have shoot, if you don't have either, especially now to get offensive line, you're not going to win. It's that simple. You're not going to be able to move the football down the field because you're constantly getting stopped, having being forced to punt, and putting your defense in short field positions, which is not ideal because now they have a short field to cover, and most of the time that's going to end up in the opposing team scoring points, right? And that's just not how you want to play complementary football. That's not how complementary football is played. So that being said, it's just got to be a point of emphasis, man, for the Bengals, and it clearly has not been, and that's a problem. That's an organizational issue that doesn't seem like it's going to be solved anytime soon. And I hate it for Joe Burrow, man. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Like I love Joe Burrow, his story and everything. I mean, we all know what he did at LSU, but just how he he's just been through a lot with this team, and it's horrible. So it's just something I want to talk about recapping that. But on the other hand, you got the Broncos who played a good game. Bo Nix played a good game, two passing touchdowns, one rushing touchdown. Um, they were able to put up good points on offense. You had J.K. Dobbins had over 100 yards rushing, so uh, Sean Payton's club looked pretty good, and they're trying to get themselves back into the AFC West mix, and trying to build some momentum, right? And then you got our second Monday Night Football game, which everybody's kind of talking about with the Dolphins and the Jets, two teams that were 0-3 going into this matchup. Somebody had to win. Something had to give, and unfortunately, one of those things was Tyreek Hill's knee and his leg. Not to joke, but that's just the name of the game. That's what it was. Seriously, he got injured. He's out for the rest of the season towards ACL dislocated his kneecap. Just word came in from Adam Schefter this morning, so yeah, he will miss the rest of the season. He went to have surgery this morning, so hopefully everything went well with that. Our prayers are with Tyreek Hill, of course. But you just hate to see it, man, for the Dolphins now, and they did get the win last night against the Jets, but moving forward, like you're without your best offensive weapon. And so now for Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel, how are you going to spread the ball around your offense? How are you going to create mismatches and scheme these guys up? Darren Waller did have a decent game, two receptions, 27 yards, two touchdowns. So he had a good game. It was good to see him back on the field because the last time he played was, before last season, was the 23 through 24 season. And it's good that he was out there and able to play and contribute to the offensive production. But clearly, moving forward for the Dolphins, they have some things that they got to work on. But it was good for them to get that win, and now it gives them some momentum in the locker room, boost morale. Because when you have not won a game, and it's just as a player, and all my football players know this, heck, basketball players, you guys know this too. Like it's hard, man. That morale is hard. It's that energy and that feel. It's hard to get that back up when you're not winning, right? And sometimes you lose a little motivation. But when you get that first win, that pumps up. That pumps everybody up, and it gets you guys building momentum. Momentum is very important, man, in sports, especially in football and the NFL. Like people underestimate how important that is. Getting that first win can really help out things for the team. So we'll see how they move forward with that. But for the Jets on the other side, just kind of the same old deal, same old story. And it's not like the Jets have not been competitive this year because they have. Pretty much all their games have been close and competitive. They're just not getting the job done. You had the game against Tampa Bay with the whole Will McDonald blocking the field goal and returning that, right? Then they just couldn't stop Tampa Bay from going down the field and kicking the game winning field goal themselves. So it's those things like that, man. You have to be able to finish games in the NFL. You have to be able to do that. And the Jets have not been able to do so this year, unfortunately for them. So now Aaron Glenn is 0-4 as the Jets head coach. And a lot of the fans right now, they're already calling for us. I'm like, guys, he just got there, okay? He just started being the head coach for the team. So give him some time. The Jets just are a dysfunctional organization to begin with. Like they're one of those like I have a couple organizations in the NFL, a couple of teams that just like they're a mess just from the top down. On that list you have the Bengals, you have the Giants, you have the Cowboys, right? The Jets are up there too. They're just a mess organizationally. But they went out and got a good coach. Coming from a team that had a very good defense, and he knew how to run that defense, and they brought him there to New York. Justin Fields, With Justin Fields, man, he's a guy that at this point in his career, I don't know what the reason is about why it's like everywhere that he has gone, it's not working for him. Chicago was a was a dumpster fire. We all know that. So that's what you can say about Chicago. And then he goes to Pittsburgh, and they did him dirty. Because they benched him when he was playing good, and Pittsburgh was actually winning in favor of Russell Wilson. And now he's with the Jets, and it's just more of the same. Justin's a very talented QB. He's a very great quarterback, but of course, certain things that he's not precise on. His passing has been a question mark since he's gotten into the league, like his accuracy and things like that, and some of his decision making. But overall, he's a talented athlete. It just has not worked for him at each stop that he has had so far in his young career. So thing for me is, man, I just hope that Justin figures it out. I hope that the Jets figure it out for their sake, and that they can get rolling, at some point, because it's just sometimes it gets sad to watch. But um, yeah, that's honestly what I have to say at this point. Going into week 5, I think overall the league is looking pretty unpredictable right now. I mean, like, it's crazy. You don't know who, like the Chiefs won against the Ravens Sunday, so they came back and now they're what 1-2. Um, so they're able to get back in the win column. We got Xavier Worthy back on the field for them. Lamar Jackson's gonna be hurt the next couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. That is not good for Baltimore. So, and they're already piled up with injuries, so it's not good for them. Um, the Titans haven't won a single game this year. I mean, like Cam Moore basically said that they suck in a press conference. Yeah, it's a lot going on. But we got you guys covered here on Jays with Now. So tune in for our next episode as we continue to discuss NFL, college, all that stuff. Uh, Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the show.